Look, if you don't want to make that change within yourself, it's not going to get better. This might not apply to everybody, but if you feel like you're rock bottom, okay, and you're hoping for a better day, but you literally are doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results, that's a definition of insanity. You are provided with a choice every day. You are provided with multiple choices throughout the entire day. Take that choice, make that change. You've identified a problem. You're saying you're rock bottom. Got it. You're there now. There's only one way, and it's up. So change your mindset. Use that choice and go a freaking different direction. Love y'all. Faceman VTT out.
Day 3 of retirement. As an infantryman, I was asked if I could clean the sink. So let's look at this. Definitely some kind of grime on there. And I open up the cabinet. What do I use? Nothing comes to mind. Like my experience is my skill set. Nothing. Wait a minute. Everyone knows this is how you clean everything. Infantry, retired.
Just take a second.
Would you like a military discount?
Do you offer one?
Honestly, cap of the day.
Please, thank you.
CC's Pizza is the county fair of restaurants. You go in there, you look around, you feel a little bit better about yourself, then you realize that you're in there too. Tell me I'm wrong. Well, let's be honest. You know, not everybody's made for this life. It's scary. You know, you gotta jump out of a plane while it's moving. That's not natural. It's high, it's fucking wet outside sometimes. It's snowy, it's hot, it's dry, it's shitty. Who the fuck would want to be airborne? Best job I ever had.
This is the Veteran Trash Talk Hour, hosted by Nick, Dave, and Buddy. Real warriors making fun of other real warriors. Try to not get triggered.
Oh, almost said it.
Dave, it's your turn.
Send
Damn
it.
it, Dave.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 112 of the Trash Talk Hour. Special guest today is Army Veteran Erika Andresen, author of How to Not Kill Your Business. And as usual, I'm joined by Nick and Buddy. Buddy, welcome back from Europe, bro.
Yeah,
Hey.
like you've been gone for like 4 months.
Dude.
It was almost a month. Almost.
Yeah.
Great time. Good
Was
time.
a good time? Yeah?
Yeah. Really
Got any,
awesome.
got any crazy stories for us?
Tell us about
before we
Tell us
start
about
the show?
Queen in Amsterdam.
I will not, because this is recorded and Child Protective Services might watch. So we'll just keep it moving. Past Quinn in Amsterdam.
Yeah,
He had a great time.
but it was legal there.
He experienced some of life. He got to think that his riz, as the kids are calling it these days, is real strong. And then I had to inform him that was because they thought that he would pay them. But hey, other than that, it was a great time. Did some snowboarding.
Yeah, you guys were all over the place. How many countries did you visit over there in Europe?
We hit England, the Netherlands, Germany, France, Italy, Monaco. So what, six?
Nice.
Six
Dude.
places? Yeah,
That's
it's
some
a great
shit.
time. It's a great time.
Good time, good time. So as usual, we're back. It feels like it's been years, right? Last time we were all together was last year. Long time, right?
Long break.
Little bit of a break. But we're gonna kickstart it with another conspiracy. I took copious notes for Buddy. Okay, I looked this up
So
last
many.
night, and
Son of a bitch. All right.
yeah, Buddy,
Guys,
grab
get
your
my
pen and
notes.
paper. We'll wait for a
grabbing it.
second. Damn
No,
it!
Yeah. Yeah, he can hear you. He's already mental.
I can
Get
still
your
hear.
whiteboard. Get your whiteboard.
I have a white piece of paper. We're
Okay,
good.
that works. Yeah.
So today we're going to talk
Construction
about Nikolai Tesla, okay, and the alien connection. Of course, I'm going to talk about aliens. That's what I usually do. UAPs, UFOs. That's my thing. So back in 1899, all right, long time ago, in Colorado Springs, while testing a magnified transmitter built to track storms, Nikolai Tesla received 3 beeps, okay? Like just signals. And he was like, what the hell is this? You know, at the time that really didn't make sense. But after analyzing it, whatever he did, you know, with mathematics, whatever, he ended up claiming that they came from Mars. Okay. Fast forward 1901, he actually wrote an article for the Collier's Weekly, whatever publishing group that is, proclaiming his belief in extraterrestrials and called it Talking with the Planets. So the conspiracy has that a lot of his inventions came from aliens, okay? He was really big into the pyramids and referred to them as power generators. He was shunned from his peers. They called him the mad scientist. People like J.P. Morgan, Edison didn't want to align with his beliefs and basically just called him crazy. And then after he died, his documents were confiscated by the FBI, okay? Some of the documents have now been released, including designs of anti-gravity ships, okay? What we refer to now as UFOs, UAPs.
Is it an airplane?
No wings, anti-gravity. Okay.
Well, you take off as anti-gravity.
Well, yes, but they didn't have wings, none of that shit. Okay.
Not really.
So just hold off, Nick. Just hold off. Let me finish. You're gonna get your damn turn. Okay.
When I jump, it's anti-gravity. And gravity takes over and brings me back up.
So rumor has it there's a lot.
Buddy,
I
don't want to
buddy.
get canceled.
The dumpster fire started. Welcome
Yeah.
to the show.
I'm just saying I'm not anti-gravity. I'm like pro-gravity. Very
I'm pro-gravity. Yeah, I'm pro-gravity too.
Pro whatever. If you want to be gravity, be gravity. Like,
Yeah, trust.
So
trust
anyhow, the documents that the FBI confiscated, obviously I just talked about some of them that were released. The rumor has it there's a lot more, such as like free energy, things of that nature. But the government is obviously holding those documents because, you know, there's a lot of money involved in that. And if we could just provide free energy to everybody, then, you know, a lot of companies will lose a lot of money.
They made a movie about this. It's called The Saint.
They did. Yep. So that was pretty much a quick synopsis of the whole thing.
What,
all right.
What was the movie called?
So,
The Saint with Val Kilmer.
So we have Tesla. Did he talk to aliens? Okay, that would be the first question for this conspiracy. And then number 2, are there a lot of documents that are still hidden by the government and have not yet been released? Okay. So to number 1, you're up first. Give me 1 second. So the number 1, talking to aliens, not sure if that happened. Maybe. I mean, he is receiving signals, you know, 1899, like the guy invented the radio, like radio frequencies, which then led to like cell phones and everything. So he was a pretty smart guy. So receiving signals from Mars, not really sure what happened with that. Did he invent some stuff that could definitely help out the world? 100%. Is the government keeping those documents? 100%. So alien, 50-50. The other stuff that he invented, 80-20. That's my take. You're up first.
Okay, question first. I was not taking copious notes, but did you say that this was in Texas that he was testing? He had the 3 beeps. Was it Texas?
No, that was in Colorado.
Oh,
Yeah, I don't think there was
Colorado
any power.
Springs. This was in Colorado Springs, July 1899.
Ooh, is it a coincidence that that's where the military, the Air Force, has their signals?
Weird, isn't it, buddy? It'll be your turn in a second. It'll be your turn in a second.
You brought it up. I'm just going woo, 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 conspiracies. Go ahead.
I do. I'll go to the second part first, which is yes, I do believe there are documents hidden. I don't need to be a conspiracy theorist about that. I just know they're usually hidden in a Florida beach resort or a garage that holds a Corvette. You know,
buy a Corvette nowhere.
But hey, the Corvette was locked up. It wasn't just on the street.
That's right.
Yeah, and it had Secret Service watching the house. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
They're good.
I like that, Erica. That's good. Okay.
But to the first one, that really threw me because when for whatever reason I heard Texas, I'm like Marfa Lights. Of course, it happened in Texas, probably near Marfa. Although those were debunked as actual cars, people set up studying that.
Mhm.
But when it comes to Colorado Springs, yeah, I think it was probably an absolute alien interaction because the Air Force and the Navy, the pilots are the ones who are seeing all this stuff and they're, declassifying all that. So if we're seeing this stuff now, and if you think about in the grand scheme of life and time and energy, we are a microsecond of existence in this planet. So yes,
I like that.
We're so self-absorbed that we think we're the only ones that are around. We've been around the longest, and no, we're zygotes basically.
Which to me, and I brought this up on the show multiple times, would actually be even scarier. Like if we said we were the only ones in the grand scheme of thing, that's actually scarier than thinking, there's other life forms out there doing their thing. Like if it's just us and we're it. That's actually more terrifying than thinking, hey, there's other life forms out there. That's my opinion on that. But maybe I'm going to raise my bar then to 70, 100, just because of the spacecraft designs and stuff that he came up with back in the 1800s, early 1900s. At that time, we weren't really
the anti-gravity vessels.
Anti-gravity vessels. Those documents have actually been released. So for anybody that's watching, if you want to Google it, the FBI did release those. And like, how the hell is he coming up with stuff like that back then? So maybe, 70, 100 alien.
You know how people came up with stuff like that back then?
How did they come up with stuff like that?
LSD.
You're next, buddy. You're next. So LSD. That used to be Joe's answer for everything.
I would say that we look at people 100 years ago and we look down on them like, oh my God, they're so stupid. They knew how things worked more than we who go to our education system is about regurgitating information that other people found out by figuring how things worked out. Like the way that Edison and Tesla and Einstein, like they were paid to sit and think about things and figure out mathematics, and they questioned the world because they weren't told by a bunch of other people how the world worked. So their minds were open to be able to receive or to be able to understand and think about things. Also, I want to say that this happened in what year? 1899?
So 1899 is when he received those signals.
Well, how do we know the computers didn't work?
And then later, he claimed that those signals, it was the 3 beeps that he received because he was tracking a storm that was about 600 miles away, which is already freaking impressive. Like, again, the stuff that this guy did. And then in 1901, he released the article that was called Talking to the Planets or whatever. And he claimed that it came from Mars. Like he's stuck on Mars.
Yeah, I'm just impressed that he wasn't partying like it was
1899.
Like it was 1899. You know what I mean? Like it just I feel like if he really in the future, he would have been jamming to a Prince song on his radio that he made. But just 18.
So what's your take, buddy? Aliens? And then government is keeping some of his inventions, obviously, to be greedy and everything.
I think that we can all agree that the government doesn't keep secrets from people. Like the government's job is to be transparent and let us know everything.
Technically, they work for us, right? So
yes, that's true.
We pay them.
Like I pay my taxes and I know my rights. So they tell us everything that's going on. So no, the government would never hide.
Didn't think about it that way, buddy.
The government is also not at all run or guided by companies that make a lot of money off of charging people for energy. Like if they weren't, then they might look into I don't know, using hydrogen that comes from water in order to power cars or something they were doing 100 years ago. Anyway,
so there's a guy I'm going to talk about, and not to get off topic, but there's a guy in
it's 100% to get off topic.
You literally just got off topic.
You literally did it on purpose.
I just did. Hey, there's a guy in California. Listen. There's a guy.
I don't want to sound.
There's lots of people in California.
Something racist thing.
He talks about he was inventing stuff with
cars
and using water
And
And
he ended up being
electricity-
dead. He ended up dead. I'm
Yeah,
going to
he
talk
used
about him in one of his
electricity,
conspiracies.
He
But yeah,
ionized water particles to separate the hydrogen.
you know who I'm
atoms
talking about.
from
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
oxygen atoms use the or the hydrogen to burn, and got like 100 and some odd miles to the gallon on a old beater.
Yeah.
Yeah. He died.
Yeah,
Yep.
fuck that guy.
Okay, so
Exactly.
aliens, buddy, yes, no?
No, I think
okay.
that the general population uses somewhere around a little less than 10% of their brain, and there are certain people that have the ability to use a lot more of their brain, and those people are the Einsteins, the Teslas, and they aren't polluted with outside people telling them what they're supposed to believe, and they just figure things out because they have the freedom to think of shit, and they think shit up, and that's what they do, and they
So is
use
your
a lot more
stance
of their
that-
brain.
That Tesla is the Bradley Cooper of what was that movie where Limitless?
Yeah, Bradley Cooper minus the drug involvement.
Yeah, and probably six pack. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
I'm
I
looking
think
at.
that
I mean, he's a
there's-
good-looking guy. He's a good-looking
there's
dude, but he's no Bradley
There's
Cooper.
also an argument to be made that Tesla could have been, on the spectrum. He could have been autistic. He could have been, and that their brains work in different ways. They
Yeah,
see
yeah.
things in different
Okay,
ways.
if he was on the spectrum, then wouldn't he be more receptive to hearing messages from aliens?
He was.
He
So,
was listening
aliens-
from Mars.
So
But you're
it
saying
was
that-
aliens. That's what she's saying, though, because you're
You
saying
said
there
it
were
wasn't
signals he
aliens.
received.
No. I'm saying that Tesla was not an alien. He had the ability to hear things, but aliens, of course, aliens. We're literally in the past 5 years, we found like 15 planets that are Earth-like within like this galaxy.
Allegedly.
And for
And not in
every
this galaxy.
in this galaxy.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Allegedly. Allegedly.
Okay. I haven't gone
I gotta
there.
get
You're
Chris
right.
in
Yeah.
here because the Earth
Anyway,
is flat, and
Yeah,
you know.
but for every star, or for every star
Obviously.
that you see in the night sky, there are at least 5 or 6 planets that are around that star. Just statistically, like we're the only ones. We are the epitome of what the cosmic fucking. But no, I don't think so. I think there's probably tons of other ones that are probably a lot more advanced than we are.
Okay, so you're still saying no to alien
No,
contact.
I said yes, alien.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, you said no
alien.
the first time. You're saying no the
He's
second
saying
time.
that Tesla's not an alien.
Yeah, we know
That
that.
wasn't
Yeah,
the
That's what was-
question, though.
that
It
wasn't-
was-
yeah.
No, that was before
hearing
you got
aliens.
on. That was before you got on. That was
Okay.
earlier.
Yeah.
And then
People
obviously
do
the government
Tesla
would
was
never
an alien.
hide secrets, and they confiscated
yeah,
all
the
this stuff, but they
government,
released
no.
it all. Yes.
By the way,
Okay.
the government, no, they never hide secrets. So just
Yep.
if
Good take, buddy.
you're watching, hey guys, if you're watching, same team Farva, you guys don't hide anything.
Thank you, buddy. The
Yeah.
Big
Yeah.
Earl. What is the Big Earl's take?
All right,
on
people
of
know
this?
I'm a man of truth. All right, I'm a man
Here we
of
go.
data.
And of the people.
Right. So,
Here we go.
and of the people, and there's some things that are kind of, you guys are, contradicting each other with your sayings about how the government doesn't hide things, but yet when the government tells us that some mythical space scope in space said that we found 12 planets, we believe it, right?
So they
it's
don't
like,
hide things.
I'm just saying they don't hide things. That's right, right? So
Right.
we got to figure that out. Of like, are we just releasing this information like, hey, these guys will run fucking wild with this for about 3 months, right? And then we can do whatever we want. Just tell them there's like 600 planets.
It's a lot like
right? Like
a lot like a really wacko parent. It'd be like if you told your kid like, hey, like they don't have a way to like they can't walk to a place, they can't ride their bike. It's like so far away, like 150 miles from here. There is a place where everything's free and it's just candy and scooters and just fun and all but you can't go there.
Yeah, that's
So,
Willy
well,
Wonka. Right. So,
yeah.
but
Yeah.
So again, I have to. We can't say that we look down on previous, cultures and generations as being dumb, and then just give all the credit to aliens. All right. So
100% agree.
We didn't give any credit to aliens.
the credit goes to
Other than the
like
pyramids.
again, the pyramids are power receptors, obviously, like you said. So
Everybody knows that.
everybody
I've
knows
known it
this,
for years.
right? And they're perfectly on the same parallel longitudinal line with the Mayan pyramids. I don't know, some kind of crazy stuff.
Yeah,
Anyway,
they align
Yeah,
with
yeah.
a solar
Yeah,
system.
They
and
do.
yeah. Got it.
Yeah.
So
mathematically, it's a
yeah,
work of art.
they just followed the sun. I don't know. So
and people in different countries just all decided to build pyramids,
Right,
and they didn't even know
right.
each other at the time.
The Egyptians,
But let's not let's like
let me get to it.
bigger.
Let me get to it.
Let me get to it.
Let me get to it. So there was some hard facts that were said during this that are important, and I've said it probably episode 5, like 2 years ago. All right, I am fascinated by a conversation that the actual J.P. Morgan had with the Secretary of State before World War I. Right, he said, "Hey, when are we going to get into World War I?" And Secretary State Burns said, "We're not." Woodrow Wilson declared neutral, and J.P. Morgan goes, "The fuck we are." He goes, "You guys allowed us to invest in this war, and all of the money's on the British side. So if the British don't win, we don't get our money back. So we're getting in this war." And he goes, "Money controls everything." Right?
You say war is about money,
right? And again. So if J.P. Morgan is the one that was like, "Hey, Tesla, gotta go," right? So
that's a big red flag right there.
Or the Rockefeller,
that's right there. J.P. Morgan, like, "Hey, look, I already put my money in this Edison guy. This fucking dude, bye." Like he wants to do it for free and shit. So
and Nikolai Tesla came to work for Edison. That's how it all started because he's from. I think he was Chechen. I don't know where.
The Chechnya exists back then.
Yeah,
but
Edison,
you're thinking of Bosnia and Yugoslavia.
Yeah.
Edison and Tesla's beef was basically over whether to use DC or AC/DC.
Yeah. So I don't think he talked to aliens. I don't think he talked to aliens. Maybe in his mind he thought he did. Right. And wherever you get, some people say it's God talking to him. Some people say it's aliens.
God.
Some people, whatever. I think the dude was on the spectrum and was, just able to free think and do things and try things. And, as Erika will probably let you know, when it comes to applied research and all this stuff, you got to have people who are free thinkers and try different things, and do things to figure out if it works or not. Right. As opposed to just trying to be right all the time. Right, let's just try to figure this out. And that goes back to your point about how other people will tell you how things are, and that we should just go by it. It's like that's literally how we stop learning. We gotta try shit. Try something better, right?
Well,
and
that's also we back to on the spectrum, and I don't know when Autism and Asperger's Awareness Month is, but maybe we save this for that. We look at it like it's a bad thing, and we're trying to cure it. They're just different. So why they don't need to be cured? They just need to be treated with a little bit of maybe some dignity, tiny bit of respect, and let them do what they do.
I love that. That's good stuff, buddy. Yeah.
So that's my take. I don't think there's any alien involvement with Tesla himself, but I do 100% believe he was silenced, and it was probably for money, 100% for money, like J.P. Morgan said. J.P. Morgan said that we don't have to fight the war for money. He's just saying money controls everything, and the money's right here, right now. So that's where we're going, right? And I don't want that power because I don't know if I'd be good with it because I'm kind of an asshole. But I don't want to be able to go into a room.
God help us all.
Hey, this is what we're doing.
Yeah,
got it. I go back, with like I said, when the whole steroid scandal. We're getting off topic, but the same thing. Steroid scandal in baseball, and somebody warned Clinton. He said, "Don't piss off these major league sports commissioners." He's like, they're very powerful people, right? And so when he passed the Farm Act that allowed natural supplements to be sold without FDA approval, that made things like androstenedione, HGH supplements, all that stuff legal in the United States. And the union agreement with baseball was anything legal was allowed. And Selig went in there and tossed a desk in the White House. I want to be able to do that. I want to be able to go there and toss a desk and be like, you know what you just fucking did to my sport? And it was oh. Well, yeah, so definitely, you don't want to piss off people with money, and you also don't want to piss off the government. So, yes, they are 100% transparent, and we love them. But anyways, Buddy is
great. Hey, real before Buddy's on his cap, what a great dumpster fire. I think we kickstarted.
I think we
right?
did a good job. Yeah.
Erika's like, where did I land? What am I doing here?
Yeah. But Buddy, we're hoping he was alive. One time we lost him for a month, and then we found him in a river. and decided he was living there by choice. So that's
By
fine.
choice.
I would live in. Rivers are awesome.
Yeah. So, buddy,
Really?
we've been waiting for months for a good honesty cap. So don't let us down.
I don't know if I'm going to let you down, but
Okay.
but here we go. So as you know, we talked about earlier, I went to Europe for the holiday season, and we went to Amsterdam, went to London, went to France, and prior to going there, I had seen a lot of people, like especially like the yappy, like the yap about like the Second Amendment and Americans and how we all have guns and this, that, and the other. And okay, hey, whatever. Like we live differently than they do. It's fine, not a huge deal. But then I went to Europe, and it's the first time I've been back to Europe to like tour around as an adult. And we're like walking in France. We come out of one of the in Paris. We come out, and I walked into, no shit, a squad size element in 100% all their military gear with AR-15s and bullpups, and they're like walking down the street doing a patrol like they're the military, like the actual military, not like the gendarme or like the local police, but like
Ooh, I like how you said that.
the French military. Oh yeah,
Gendarme.
I'm basically like Dave now, bilingual as fuck.
Trilingual, buddy. Try it.
But
if somebody if we're not really listening, thought you might have been dropping a Jean-Claude Van Damme reference.
Yeah.
Oh, if I had seen Jean-Claude Van Damme, I might not have come back.
First blood, homie.
That's Rambo, Dave.
Yeah.
No, it was is it? Yeah,
no,
it is.
Rambo.
Bloodsport. Thank you. God just spoke to us in our.
Yeah.
Dave saw it in German, and so sometimes because he speaks so many languages, translations. So anyway, so I walk in the middle of this patrol, and I'm walking around, and it hit me, and I was like, if I hear another European tell me about how the Second Amendment is like, oh, why do you all have guns and this, that, and the other, like, you don't dislike guns, you just don't like, you don't trust yourself to be able to safely use one, so you outsource your own safety to a bunch of, like, I would hate it if I walked out and a bunch of the 101st guys that are here in Clarksville were just walking around in Clarksville. Like, have you ever seen an 18-year-old like just kind of wield his power? Nah, like I'm good on not having military. I would whole lot rather like both, like everybody just be equal and have their own shit, and not have just one group of dudes walking around like literally high readying, like walking around in the tourist areas. It doesn't make me feel safe. It makes me feel like somebody's going to ask me for my papers.
Yeah, like why are you here?
Yeah, I looked around like, did something go down?
Europe's changed. Europe's changed, hasn't it, buddy?
Try to throw something away in Paris. You can't. Because there's no dumpsters, no trash cans. You know why they don't put trash cans around in Paris? Because apparently people put bombs in them. Because if you take away people's guns, apparently it's easier to make a bomb, and you put it in a trash can and you kill a bunch of people.
In Tokyo, there's no trash cans either, and that was because of the sarin attack in the subway.
Exactly. Yeah. So here's my honesty cap to all the European followers, and I'm sure we had at least
7.
One's up them. One's up
about
them.
30.
No, we got a bunch.
Shout out to Germany.
I'm going to need you to step down off your moral high horse and think that you're awesome. You can't throw away your Coke cans, and you have to have the military walking around to make you feel safe. Like, that's not safe. That's real bad. That you're living in a shithole if that's the case. If you have to have like squad size elements patrolling your streets to make sure you don't get blown up by a terrorist, maybe you're doing something wrong. Because I can walk outside right now and I don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, it goes back to, I mean, again, off topic, but that's like the border crisis and the whole refugee issue in Germany and Europe in general. Like we botched that, man. That became a huge problem. Like like this. Well,
Like, is that your dream job,
Wars,
Ryan?
Syria. I'm just saying. I'm still in for 5 more months, so
Yeah, you better lock it down.
I'll shut up real quick. But
we didn't
yeah.
botch it because from what the
we
part
didn't
that
botch
I
it
think-
as in the U.S. No, but they botched it with
Yeah,
allowing.
the part that I played in the whole series.
Did you go to Kaiserslautern?
Talking about.
I know you grew up in Germany.
Yeah.
Did you walk through Kaiserslautern?
Oh yeah. It's
Did you see how much
what I
it's
was
changed?
told.
Yep.
Yeah, but that's the thing though. The difference between like, and you can love them or hate them, but the president at the time said, "Hey, how about we just make where they live better instead of allowing them to leave?" And other people had other ideas, and when you don't give people the ability to stand up for themselves against a tyrannical government like in Syria, and instead you give them a place to flee, they're
gonna flee.
The best ones are gonna flee, or the ones that can are gonna flee.
The ones with money and the ones who can get there. Yeah.
And then they have to start rebuilding, and if they're starting to rebuild, apparently it's natural. The people that are already there that aren't rebuilding are going to look down on them because they're and they're going to be forced to do some things that people that have stable roots wouldn't do. So they're going to look bad.
And let me preface this real quick is like when it comes to like taking people from other countries, like this might end up and somebody's going to spin it. Like I'm all about women and children. Like if they're coming from war-torn countries, like open. In my opinion, I'm all for it in Europe. But what happened is like specifically in Germany, busloads of military-aged males were let off and just dropped off in Germany. And then like without even like, yes, women and children came as well. Of course. It wasn't just like I'm a little bit of a conspiracy theorist, but like
you are 100% one.
But there were a lot of military-aged males that left and then came to Europe and then started, the attacks, the stabbings, the bombings, everything that happened. And women were left in Syria or wherever to
you want
to
make
those pisses me the fuck
better.
off,
If you want to let's talk about refugees real quick.
I'm all about taking them in. Like a war-torn country, like come on.
All children from ages 3 to like 10. We just bring them in. We get them right next to a Walmart. We allow them to see, and then at 18 they got to go back. And then we're like, hey, you've seen how the other side lives. Here's some money. Just put in a Walmart. You guys will be awesome.
I don't even know what you just said.
We'll do it.
A Walmart and McDonald's, and we have world peace, right?
Hey, we're gonna have to give you. We're gonna give you cut rate like goods, and then mass produced food. You'll be fine. It'll be fine, guys. Everything's gonna be all right.
It's just bad over there right now, man. It's bad.
And again, people talk.
Yeah.
People talk about like, and I hate like linear thinking, and it's like if we just did this, then this would have done this. It's like, oh, there's 600 things in this complex system that need to be either addressed, looked at, somehow sharpened, maybe dropped, maybe added to, right? All kinds of things. And I've always used this as a history buff that I am with like Honduras and Nicaragua, right? And El Salvador. We literally had a guy on the show who was setting up Contra camps in Honduras, right? Like back in the 80s, and it's like, we did that. Like America did that. So it's like when you're like, hey, we shouldn't let these El Salvadorians up here. It's like, we kind of had something to do with that. Like, and like Buddy's saying, it's like, maybe we should make El Salvador better. Our
problem as a country.
Banana Republic, man. We let our fruit company run a country for 20 years.
Our problem is that we half step into other countries. And you know what? Whatever. That's just
that could be. We could have a whole show on that. I think we should focus on our guest now, who's been patiently waiting, sipping on her bourbon, whatever bourbon she's drinking.
Obviously, Erika can go into whatever she wants to because the next half hour is hers.
Welcome to the dumpster fire,
Erika. Welcome to the dumpster fire. This is what we do. For those of you watching for the first time, got a couple of comments on Facebook from some of our regulars like Crystal and Brian.
Brian, what up, Brian?
Yeah, there's some new people watching. But this whole thing was started to combat veteran suicide and provide a place for people to just have therapy and chat, right? And the best therapy, it's not always bourbon. So, hey, I know we're sponsored by a bourbon company. You know, if you can't drink,
Shout out to 10th Mountain Whiskey.
but we're not telling you to drink. It's just, you know, sometimes we're able to handle it. Sometimes Dave's not, but like, you know, we get
most of the time.
Most of the time.
Dave is like the chillest and the coolest out of the group. I've seen both of you drunk. Don't even get me started. But anyway, keep going, Nick. Keep going, Nick. Keep going.
So the last time you saw me drunk, I was the most calm one of the bunch.
And we were celebrating your wedding. So anyways, again, once we got a decent reach and it was like, hey, what should we do with this? We were like, hey, let's promote some veteran-owned companies, veteran-owned, you know, any type of cause, you know, people that are hiring, people that have good ideas. And so what came to, you know, happen a lot for us was authors were reaching out. And I actually reached out to Erika because as I was finishing my master's at the Yale of the Southwest, which is UTEP, all right, picks up. You know,
Nick's got a master's, buddy. We should.
I applied for my master's in February, so let's just all calm down. And where
yes,
us, go, but
us 11 victors can read, baby. But
boom.
Yeah, you know, she came and she did a lecture for us in our one of our public administration classes.
Oh.
And so that's where I was introduced to Erika, and you know, she was talking about how she was in the military. Actually started, you know, in the private sector first, then came out. So I was like, hey, this would be great. And she wrote a book. I'm like, let's promote the book. So Chris, if you could put that into the chat thread, and Omar Maldonado's watching right now. He was also in that lecture that you were doing.
Remember the name.
Yeah. But he's a gorgeous man. I think he's like Puerto Rican or something.
Stacy says, get it together, Dave. I got it together.
Yeah, get it together, Dave.
Ace Man always has it together.
Yeah. But Erika, welcome to the Dumpster Fire. Tell us a little bit about, you know, your service and, you know, just that you're, you know, kind of like, you know, the generalization of your life, or whatever the hell you want to talk about. And then what made you write a book about how not to kill your business? Because I really hope these other two guys listen to this, because I've been keeping this business alive based on everything they're trying to do to kill it. So, Erika.
Whoa.
I'm here.
Oh my God.
I'm here courting the government right now.
Let's just let Erika.
Erika, welcome to the Dumpster Fire. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Thank you, first of all, for asking me to be on. It was actually, I think I was in the middle of my lecture, and then I had an email from you. You're like, hey, I have a podcast, you should be a guest. And I was like, okay. And you're like, here, check us out. And I was like, oh, okay. You're like, authors do really well. I'm like, I'm in. All right. So my name's Erika Andresen. I started off, I'm from New York City. I was born and raised in Staten Island. I got rid of my accent on purpose. It does not come back except for a few words because I don't say them often enough to kill the accent. Example, when I was
We're going to have to keep you on the show long enough so that you can have a few more drinks, and then I guarantee.
No, it really doesn't come out. Even my friends in New York are like, it's amazing. It doesn't come out. So I was in JBLM, I was at the dentist, and the woman's like, so where are you from? I said, New York City. And she's like, I don't hear it. I go, yeah, no, I got rid of my accent on purpose. And she was, you know, working on my teeth. And then she's like, okay, ready to clean. Do you want cherry, mint, or melon toothpaste? I said, melon. And in my head, I'm thinking cantaloupe. Like, I've never had cantaloupe toothpaste. And she starts working, and I go, oh, watermelon. She goes, there it is. I was like, what? She goes,
water.
I could say water, but I don't say watermelon enough. I have to
water.
Think about it to say it right. Anywho, so I grew up in New York City, and I pretty much didn't leave other than to travel until I was 31. And I started my professional career. First, I was going to go into the film industry, being a film financing attorney. That's super niche. I like to be niche on everything. So it was entertainment law, but specifically.
Sam, you watching? You need a lawyer? Sam.
Yeah, Sam and Dinah. We got a plug. Yeah.
And
that was shameless, Nick.
The thing about entertainment law is they're a glamour industry, and they expect you to work for free because it's a privilege to work for them. And I was like, I got student loan debt. I'm living in my parents' house in Staten Island. Like, I don't want that to be the case. And they're like, well, you know, we can offer you $10 an hour. And I'm like, I made more for that in AV at school. Like, no, thank you. So then I went into corporate law instead. And, you know, it was on a scale of 1 to 10, the pay was a 12. The actual work was like 5. But, you know, it enabled me to do a lot, and it was a stepping stone for something. And this was in the early to mid aughts. And it's funny, one of my externships, I worked at Penthouse Media. So I always knew where people were in my resume when they.
Buddy started smiling. Not that Penthouse, buddy.
No. It is expensive. I did work for the porn magazine. So,
oh,
right. So it's
Buddy was right. Buddy was right.
Right. So it's funny. I was like, I could tell when I was being interviewed where they were in my resume. It'd be like this, and then they go,
oh, that's hilarious. I'm gonna put this little portion together and throw it on TikTok later. That was good. That was good.
So I was doing corporate law, and I was helping defend the banks that were selling the toxic CDOs that caused the world economy to collapse. And I was very unfulfilled doing that. And then one of my buddies, his name is Chris Page. I met him in a bar one night for a fundraiser. It was Valentine's Day. It was a fundraiser for the wildfires that were going on in Australia. So it was like 2008 or 9, I think, somewhere around there.
I was deployed. I don't remember.
And he was like, "Hey, I play co-ed rugby. You should come to one of our matches and join the team." And I was like, "Okay." So I met up with him, and he was a separated sergeant from the military, and he wound up getting a job at Citicorp, being their veteran outreach person, because he played rugby with a dude who worked for Citibank, and he was like, "Hey, I can teach you this job, whatever." So I started getting invited to a whole lot of veteran events. And it was from that, one of my coworkers, Vicky, she saw an advertisement for the Mercy Law Group out of Detroit, Michigan. And she's like, they have this thing called a VA accredited attorney. They will train you to be a VA accredited attorney. And all you have to do in return is do some free service hours for veterans. And I was like, oh yeah, cool, I'll do that. And she just put the two together. She's like, you're doing a lot of veteran events. You might like this. I started helping out veterans who had their claims denied by the VA. And then when I was doing it, I was like, wow, my law degree actually feels like it's being used for something good. And I wanted to do more like that, but it felt dirty to charge veterans. So the next best thing was to join the JAG Corps. And I asked my buddy, Chris, I'm like, hey, dude, you know everybody. Do you have any JAG recruiters? And he's like, yeah, here, here, and here. And then that's how I wound up applying to the JAG Corps and leaving corporate world to
that's what's up
to be active duty. So I was like 31, I think, when I started the JAG Corps, and really liked everything I did there.
You got to give us some barrack stories in the JAG Corps. You got to give us, like, obviously you can't name any names, but you got to. Well, she's rolling, so she might just jump over that. You know, like, you got to give us.
Hi, I said I'm from New York City. I talk fast. Sorry.
No, you're good.
You're good. You're good.
Buddy and I were tracking.
Okay.
Yeah, too, homie.
Dave just wants to know. He likes gossip, so he wants to know, like, what's the craziest thing you ever had in the JAG Corps? Like, well, this private came in once that was,
There's plenty.
Buddy, our viewers might actually get a good laugh out of this and find it interesting. Okay.
So there are a lot of
I got this, homie.
In my stories, but we can do that when I finish the event.
Before Mafia. Yep.
Everything I did legal wise, like the work, I really loved doing that in the JAG Corps. And the only reason I left is as I was approaching my 40s, like moving around a lot and having to start a new life every single time I moved. I'm like, I want more control over my life. But while I was in the JAG Corps, one of the things, because I'd been a real lawyer, and JAGs hate when I say that, I'm like, okay, you go from law school to JAG school, and then you're a JAG. I went through law school. I practiced law in the civilian side for years, and then I came in. So I practiced real law, because military law is different. One summer PCS season, we lost 8, we got 4. So my SJA was like, you're going to take 3 jobs. I was like, oh, awesome. He's like, don't worry. One of them is an EOC legal advisor, Emergency Operations Center legal advisor. He's like, they have a meeting quarterly. Nothing ever happens. I'm like, okay. And then 2 weeks later, this is at Fort Leonard. 2 weeks later, they had torrential downpour of rain, like 2 inches of rain a night. Parts of I-44 were flooded and shut down. So it was a disaster emergency declaration. And he's like, okay, the general needs a briefing. Here's an op law book. Read it. What? I was like, okay. And that was my introduction to emergency management. And I really, really liked it. And at the time, there's nothing else better to do in Missouri than go. Someone's like, oh, if you drive an hour and 45 away, you can go see a Mizzou game. I was like, oh, I'll try that. I like football. And I started really liking the games. I went and tailgated every week, every game that they had. I got a season subscription, and people were like, oh, are you from Missouri? No. Did you go to Mizzou? No. Okay. And I was like, well, I should probably change that. So I was looking for a degree to get, because, I like having letters after my name. And I saw that they have an MPA degree. I'm like, what the hell is an MPA? So it's a Master of Public Administration. And they wound up, I was like, oh, well, some of this is like, I'm like, I could probably use this if I ever got out. So I started getting my MPA. And then it just so happened by circumstance, everywhere I PCS, I was national security law or op law, responding to disasters or advising on disasters. So at JBLM, we had a couple of brigades who were responsible for augmenting the federal firefighters for wildland fires. And that summer, there was a lot of wildland firefighters and fires. And then when I went to Natick in Massachusetts, just outside of Boston, best BAH situation ever. I got Boston BAH. My rent was like $1,900. My BAH
Heck
was
yeah.
$1,500. I was like, thank you. Pay off my student loans. Awesome. Then we had a pandemic and I was able to advise on that. And it was really how I got my love of emergency management. But while I was deployed in 2016, I was in my last class.
Afghanistan or Iraq? Just for the
Afghanistan.
listeners.
It was
Okay.
Afghanistan. And I was the op law attorney in the CJOC. So I was advising the general on all the bombs we dropped. And when I wasn't busy, I was also doing schoolwork. And I was reading a business review article for one of my classes on businesses who suffered through Superstorm Sandy. And they all had the same 4 questions to answer. And the final question is, so what are you doing for next time? And every single one of them, except for like 3, were like, oh, this isn't going to happen again. And I was like, it will. And you need to pay me to tell you that it's going to happen again and how you should prepare.
Yeah.
And that was the genesis of my idea, that I was like, I want to start a business that helps companies stay in business. And then that morphed more as I learned as I was getting out about business continuity. And there is a program through DRI, which is the Disaster Recovery Institute. They have a veteran outreach program. So business continuity is basically COOP, continuity of operations, which everybody in the military knows how to do because you do it every day. And it is those principles.
Yeah. We know what it means, not necessarily that you just do it, but yeah.
Yeah, but yes. So you actually apply those principles to business continuity and you're set. You can even apply for a scholarship. It's a $3,000 course. I got a scholarship, it's not that hard to apply for. It's actually awesome. And from that, I was like, okay, now I'm a certified business continuity specialist. Now what? Then I started my own business. And the way my business, the genesis of that too, when I got out of the military, I had to do my refrad 6 months before I planned on getting out. So I had to pull the trigger at the time. I just got promoted to major. My plan B was go to business school and get an MBA, and I got accepted to programs with full scholarships. And I was like, well, maybe. And then it was just get out. And I was doing a paper thing of pros and cons of everything. And I was like, everybody I know with an MBA is like, Erika, you don't need one because you know what it is you want to do and you can articulate it. Plus you're a lawyer, like you're fine. So I was like, I'm just going to do my refrad. And I still was like hemming and hawing about school. This was January 2020. And I also had an offer from a tech company to have a job. And they're like, oh, just contact us we won't hold you a job for 6 months, but we will for like 2. So when you're about to get out. I'm on leave for 10 days in New Zealand at the start of March 2022.
New Zealand? Okay.
Yeah. And then I'm like, what the hell's going on back home? Why are people going apeshit over toilet paper? I don't understand this. It's not the Mataba virus. Like, what?
That was a crazy time. I mean, I want to stop there real quick. Like, holy shit. You guys remember that?
Yeah. It was.
Yeah,
What the
Zealand,
fuck,
right?
bro?
And I actually got trapped in New Zealand an extra day because one of my internal flights got canceled because they were
Let me real quick. It's going to start with eggs here pretty soon.
Probably.
I want to go off topic, but have you guys looked at the
No, eggs are a wealth symbol again now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could
Dude,
spoil yourself with an omelet.
The cheapest way to buy the cheapest way to get eggs, buy a fucking chicken.
No.
The crazy chicken lady next door doesn't seem so crazy anymore, right?
Yeah, hens are actually worth more than catalytic converters now. So just like switch that up. But hey, way to go, Dave. She was on a roll.
No,
Yeah.
I can interject a little bit. She already told me earlier.
Well, you did.
Dave had more than 2 drinks. So
he's drinking cheap vodka. So
yeah.
But
our sponsor sends all the alcohol to you, Nick.
That's because you don't order it. So
and
I
you
get
stay
10
drunk
bottles
every day. Yeah.
So
Go
I
ahead.
came back. I came back, and the job I was home for like a week. So I flew into Logan, and on Monday at 5 p.m. and it was dead. And I'm like, this is eerie. Like it felt like I came back to the zombie apocalypse because my friend even said to me, when you get home, it's gonna feel different. And I was like, whatever. And I was like, no shit, it does. And then my work were like, hey, we need you to not come back to work for 2 weeks. You need to quarantine. I was like, wait, so you want me to go from a country that had 3 cases to a city that has 800 and stay home for 2 more weeks? I'm like, sure, not a problem. But during that 2 weeks, I was like, wait a minute, do I still have this job? And then I went and like reached out to that person, and she pretty much did a new phone who dis. And I'm like, fuck. So I wound up like,
bye-bye.
yeah, I was like, well then, awesome. And I wound up finishing. I worked real hard to try to get a job, and I couldn't. And I couldn't get an interview. It was rough. And everyone was like, oh, you're a lawyer. Of course. No, lawyers actually had a hard time because you need clients making money so they could pay lawyers. Everybody was cutting down stuff. And I was applying for jobs I thought I wanted to do, or that made sense, like doing investigations or regulatory compliance. And I was like, I don't want to do any of this. So then I wound up moving back home to New York City, and my best friend and his boyfriend were like, live here in Brooklyn. Don't go to Staten Island. Be a borough away from your parents, because you can't be 41 and moving back home. That's sad. Plus my dad was on dialysis at the time. So I moved back home. He wound up dying quite suddenly, like 3 weeks later. And I felt like the universe.
Sorry for your loss.
Thank you. And it was also the day I was starting PTSD therapy. So they were like, hi, your appointment. I'm like, no, my dad died 2 hours ago. I'm not doing this today. And they're like, okay, well, can we just talk about your dad then? I was like, okay, we can do that. And I think that the universe was preventing me from having a job, or the aliens, whatever you want to call it, because I was able
aliens.
Probably. Because I was able to not work and be there to take care of my mom and the estate. She was supposed to be the executor, but there was no way she was going to be the executor. And I'm the lawyer. And my sisters were like, you got this. I was like, okay. So I did the estate for my mom while I was going through PTSD therapy. And then I was like, well, what do I really want to do? And then one of my mentors, his name's Chris, and he works for Cisco. He was like, Erika, what do you want to do? Don't even think about it. What is it you're passionate about? I'm like, disaster preparedness. He's like, then stop fucking applying for legal jobs. Do that.
Yeah.
And then when I went to the Leader Transition Institute, which is one of the better transition things for veterans.
And Erika, again, for the viewers, you talked about, no, seriously. And you don't have to share if you don't want to, but Nick's going to be like, okay, Dave, I know where you're going with this. You talked about PTSD therapy. Mm-hmm. Like we got 700,000 people, like a huge following. Can you talk about maybe, and if you don't want to share, it's cool. Just say, Dave, no, I'm not doing that. Some of the PTSD, and then where you're at now, like maybe just express why there's PTSD, or like what's going on with that.
What specific thing of PTSD were you struggling with, if you want to talk about it? And then
because you're super successful now and you're making it happen. That's what we talk. We talk about getting the demons out, so we can fix it. Yeah.
So I'll share as much as I can.
I need to get you off track because I know you're rolling.
No, I put a pin. I know where I was going, so I'm good. I can get back to it. I'll share as much as I feel comfortable sharing, which isn't everything. But so when I was doing my BDD, you have to. And I finished my BDD the first week of March, which was probably the worst fucking time to do it, because everything I had shoved down, I had to do this and go, here you go. Here's everything I've been hiding and compartmentalizing and all this other shit. And they were just like, well, we're going to take it and do nothing with it because, hey, we're putting evaluations on hold because COVID. So as I was leaving
Nick, keep going.
So as I was leaving the military, like getting out of active duty, I was like, it was like I was wigging because I was like, I can't handle all this stuff. And something else had happened that triggered me as a result, like a few weeks before I was getting out, where I was crying every fucking day. And I was like, hey, I need help. So I was calling the VA people. I'm like, you need to do my fucking evaluation because I need a rating. I need help, blah, blah, blah. And they go, well, you're still on active duty. You can go get help from them. So I called Hanscom Air Force Base, which was our MTF from Natick. And they're like, yeah, we're not going to see you. I said, why? They said, there's no point because you're getting out in a week and a half. There's no follow-up. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? And they're like, call the VA. So I called the VA in Boston and they're like, well, we can't help you because you're still on active. And I just broke down on the phone, like hysterical crying. And the woman was like, do me a favor, hang up and go to the ER at the VA and tell them you want to see a psychiatrist and don't worry about the paperwork. We'll worry about that. So I'm like walking and going, I need help. And they're like, okay, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Like, I'm like, I'm still on active, but nobody will help me. And they're like, okay. Calm down. You're fine. don't worry about the paperwork. We'll worry about that later. We'll just take this from you. And they were awesome. And then they also said social worker, because I'm like, well, I'm not going to be in Boston for much longer. I'm moving back to New York. They sent me with a social worker to talk to every week, just to check in. And then that social
and
worker,
Nick, real quick. Nick has like, no, I'm creating conversation. She's bringing up a lot of great things. But Nick, briefly talk about, like, you guys are fucking shaking your heads and stuff. You guys are dumb. Nick, talk about what happened during COVID with your treatment.
Well, they stopped all of it, like she said.
Yeah, literally. Yeah. But you're sharing the same experience as she did.
Right, correct. And so that's why, like I said,
don't worry. Touch points. I got this.
What part of the, like I said, what part of PTSD? Because it's it's a term, it's an acronym for, like, I don't have everything that is PTSD. Like, I have a few things, right? So it's like,
I learned through, there's a lot of stuff that was going on. So when the social worker did a great job. She like kicked somebody's ass at the VA, and within 3 days I had my evaluation, and I was like, awesome. And that was taken care of. And then I had my rating. I was able to start treatment.
Buddy, mute your shit. We don't want to hear the dog.
But,
Jesus, I would. But he's 140 pounds worth of dog.
You're an SF guy. You're stronger than that.
Yeah, I got you. Go ahead.
So I found that there's stuff that just happens because I have 2 forms of PTSD, and I didn't know that one bothered me as much as the other until I was closing on my house. And I was doing the VA loan, and there was a radial that was wrong. It was like reserved, never active. And I was like, no, that's wrong. You need to change that. I was active and separated. And they're like, okay. And it seems like the stupidest thing, but they kept not fixing it. But I didn't know, and they didn't know at the time either. There was a glitch in the system where it wouldn't update to the new documents to push out to me. So the day of closing, I'm like, I'm not fucking signing this shit. It says I was a reservist. I was not a reservist. I did years of active duty. And I was like, I'm not fucking signing.
You had a shitty agent. Yeah.
No. Honestly, she felt really horribly. She's like, she was closing day supposed to be a happy day. I'm sorry, this was a triggering event. And I'm like hysterical crying, and I'm around my friend. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't know why I can't stop crying. I know it's the stupidest thing. I'm just mad about this radial. And I realized,
I would have also been upset about that.
Yeah.
That's a kick in the dick. Fuck you. No.
Right, no,
I'd have been
and that's
mad.
the thing too.
Or uterus.
What it told me was
either
that my
way,
service wasn't valued, or that I wasn't valued for that. So and then I'm crying. I'm
That's
like, I'm so
disrespect.
sorry. I'm crying. And she's like, Erika, it's okay. Don't worry about it. And I'm like, she's like, stop apologizing and just cry. And I'm like, but I have to go to the dentist at the VA. And she's like, what a better place than anywhere to go and cry for no reason. Like, they'll understand. I was like, okay, you're right. And then I was like, wow, this is amazing to have absolutely no control over your emotions for something that you're just like, what? So like, I'm still in therapy. The intensive, this is the thing, because the VA resources are limited. They will only give you 12 weeks of whatever. So I had 12 weeks of the intensive PTSD to start. And then I had the vet center, did some ancillary stuff. And I was, I'd go to the vet center, and then everywhere I've moved, I've been able to have mental health. But again, it's frustrating when they're limited to 12. Like, you can't cure me in 12 weeks. It's just not going to happen.
No, you can't. But you've identified a problem, and you're still seeking help.
Right.
So like, we get this all the time on our Facebook page and everything. Like, oh, the whole world is against me. Like, fuck this world. I don't want to make a change. Like, no, there's help out there.
Right.
A, you got to identify an issue that's going on. And then B, you got to fucking go seek help.
Well, like, when you understand that what is
Nick, stop texting, pay attention.
When it is determined to be not an appropriate response for something, it's like, okay, why does this feel like an exaggerated response? Okay, there's a reason why. And I have to go talk it out with somebody and figure that out. And I had therapy 2 weeks ago, and I have it in 2 weeks from now. Like, there's still stuff I'm working through, but part of, like I said, now I'm back to my pin. I got out, I had no job, I was doing therapy, I was doing the estate for my mom. I did the LTI to figure out what my purpose was, and then I started following it. I went the IVMF, the Institute of Veteran and Military Families. It's in Syracuse University for free. You call them, you say, hey, I'm thinking about starting a business, or you already started one, but in the early stages. They're like, let's figure out what program we can give you for free to help you with this. So I went through an 8-week entrepreneurial course, which pretty much got me on the road to doing my business plan. I was dragging my feet a lot about this because I'm like, I should do it. And I decided I was incorporating I had to incorporate by the 1 year anniversary of my dad's death. So I incorporated on September 29th, 2021, which is a 1 year anniversary, because I wanted it to be a happy anniversary. And then I didn't do anything with it for weeks, like no, months. I didn't do shit with my business for months because I was afraid to like actually put it out there. And then one of my SCORE mentors, and SCORE is a program under the SBA. They're also free. Like I was going to all these webinars. It's like, if you want to start a business, you know, blah, blah, blah. And you get a free 30-minute consultation. And then you do the consultation and like, and if you want to pay me, I'll give you the answers. SCORE does not do that. These are people who legitimately want to give back to the community and have small businesses succeed. There's no paywall. They tell you how to do everything.
Yep.
So I told my SCORE mentor, I was like, hey, here's an update I actually incorporated. He's like, hey, I actually advise a not-for-profit on supply chain managers. You think you could do a talk on that? And I was like, yep, sure can. And then I was like, fuck, now I got to be legit. Now I have to advertise on LinkedIn that I have a business, and I have to actually make a landing page so I look legitimate to people. And that, you know, I ramped up within like 2 weeks and built all this stuff out and had my first talk. And then I had another talk after that, and then another talk just as a guest lecturer at a university. And at the time I was teaching intro to emergency management for UTEP. How that happened, another dean from another school asked me to start an emergency management course. And I did. And he was like, great, the board just needs to approve it. There's no reason they shouldn't approve it. The board's like, we're not interested in emergency management for an MPA program. I'm like, what? Do you know where you're located? You're this far outside of New York City. You don't think emergency management's interesting? Okay, whatever. I was pissed off. That's a lot of work to design a course. So when I was in El Paso, I was like, wait a minute, they have a college here, don't they? They have an MPA program? They do. Who's the director? And I reached out to him directly. I'm like, hey, I wrote this course. Would you like me to teach it? He's like, absolutely. And that's how I became a professor of emergency management. So now I was a guest lecturer at
hey, you got a lot of shit going on. So when
yes.
when did you start writing the book?
I'm getting there. So this professor I did a lecture for, he was like, you should write a book. And I was like, really? He's like, yeah, it'll increase your eminence. You know, you're a professor, you're this, you're that. You should do that. And I was like, okay. But it was from like an academic perspective. And he's telling me to get in the Harvard Business Review, do case studies. And I'm like, I don't want to read that book. Why would I want to write it? And then I was talking to somebody who was like, Erika, I'm really, really smart. I don't understand what it is that you do. And I'm like, well, blah, 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 blah. And he goes, is it safe to say that you help businesses not kill themselves? And I went, yeah. And he goes, then say that. And I went, okay.
Ooh.
And you know, I was thinking about that. And then the students I taught at UTEP, this was my first time on teaching semester. As a JAC, I'd given bajillion trainings and you know, like one-offs, easy LPD, done it all. But to keep a sustained semester, the students were like, hey, we loved you. We love that the way you talk. You don't talk like a professor. And I was like, I'm not sure if it's a compliment or not. And they're like, you know, you're not from like theory on high. You talk to us like a real person. You have all this experience. You know, that's awesome. And one kid was like, I already fulfilled my elective. If you were teaching another class, I would take one just because to have you again. And I'm like, awesome. And that encouraged me to write the book the way I talk. So the book is How to Not Kill Your Business, Grow Your Business in Any Environment, Navigate Volatility, and Successfully Recover When Things Go Wrong. And it is the origin of that 2016, reading that article where people were like, oh, this isn't going to happen again, because disasters, everybody thinks a disaster is like a natural disaster or even an active shooter or cybersecurity at this point. But disruptions can also just be the power going out, or you have a vital piece of equipment that stops working. If you don't have
or an executive order going away, and all of a sudden there's now a crisis on the border.
Right. Or a Supreme Court decision that does one thing and everybody thinks they don't have to do, the EPA has any power anymore, but then Congress steps in and is like, no, we're going to put that back in. Thank you, Supreme Court. There's a whole lot of things that go into
or the COVID vaccine. It's not mandatory for the military anymore.
Yeah.
You know, that doesn't have to do with business continuity.
No.
Anyway, I just wanted to throw it out there.
Just go ahead, throw it out. So a lot of people in businesses will do risk management, but risk management only mitigates a risk, doesn't eradicate a risk. So you're still going to fail at a certain level. Business continuity picks up where risk management fails. And I think it's vital for businesses who, it doesn't matter what stage of business you're in, even if you're about to start a business, do it from the very beginning. Because why would you put all this effort into starting a business and not having layers of protection inherent in it as you grow? Because, you know, I'm hearing a lot of phrase, oh, we want to put cash in the registers of, and then insert this certain type of business owner, of a veteran owner, of a women business owner, of a BIPOC owner. okay, great idea. I would like for their cash register to still open because their business is still there to collect the money. And people forget about that. So I work with business owners, venture capitalists, because venture capitalists want to keep their investment in their businesses insured. And this is an extra layer of insurance. And if you've survived a disaster and you're like, ah, shit, you know, I'm too late. No, you're not too late, because you can still prepare for next time. And this is why my company is EAS, which is a play on software as a service. It's Erika as a service, because you get me and my expertise and the way that I talk to people.
So do you provide a service? Like they can contact the company, and then you're well, you probably shouldn't be doing this, or you shouldn't be doing that.
I can help build a continuity plan. I can look at a plan that's already created to see if it's optimized. One of the other things too that's vital for business continuity is exercises and training. I've written injects. I have facilitated exercises in the military. I mean, if you can do something in NTC, and I was an OCT for a month, like I can do all this stuff for people. Now, the thing I want to say about my book that I really like is, and of course I'm biased, but everybody who's read it agrees that this is cool. I wrote it from an accessible point.
Put that plug in there again, your book. What site? Put that plug in there.
It's Amazon, right? But
yep.
How to Not Kill Your Business.
Yep.
So it's super short. It's only 120 pages. I understand people's attention span. And the chapters are all
I'm still paying attention.
Are all musical songs. So they're songs, and then the lyrics of the song forecast the content of the chapter. So I've got Rolling Stones, David Bowie, Wu-Tang Clan, Earth, Wind and Fire, U2.
Oh shit. Wu-Tang.
Yeah. I got, I'm from Staten Island, you know.
Oh shit.
So it's all about Wu-Tang.
Dave was a rapper.
I would never ask you how old you were, because that's just not what I do. But
I'm 43.
Yeah,
you know all about Wu-Tang.
Yeah, one of my exes.
Okay,
my exes,
real quick.
One of my exes
favorite rapper of the Wu-Tang Clan. This is how we're gonna be cool with each other. Favorite RZA?
Yeah.
ODB
Man, all day.
Well, okay.
Oh,
when they were touring this summer,
he was good,
was
but he's no longer with us.
Them. I like RZA because he's an actor and he is he's multifaceted.
Method Man. Anyway, but let's go.
Erika, for the people watching and listening, and you know how you're describing the consulting job that you do, that Dave reinforced by saying you consult people on how to do things. It's like, yes, EAS consults people on how to do things. But
Earl.
No, Dave, it's been a while since you've participated on the show, man. I love it.
I love it.
So what I've gathered from your story so far, so correct me if I'm wrong in any way, I'm probably wrong in multiple ways. But you have shown the ability to, no matter what happens, you're finding a way to move forward with it.
Yeah.
Right. And that is something that's vital for the veteran community, and for any community and for any business. And now here's where the fairy tale stops, and we actually have to do real life things. So it's when we all, as military, like, we backwards plan if we're good at it, right? We're like, here's our end state. Here's, the gates we have to meet. All right. Every training meeting goes that way. And then it's like, here's the risk that I'm going to assume. Right. And obviously, like Buddy's talked about before, he's out of the room right now, but CEOs, general officers, right, they don't make decisions in a bubble. Right. It's not, and they don't make decisions on the spot. Right. So it's like they have well, I'm saying that
I advised a general in Afghanistan. They do make decisions on the spot.
Well, right. Like, it's like, unless there's something that's happened that they didn't foresee.
Yeah.
Right. That they didn't, plan on risk happening. So talk about your book a little bit and how that explains, because there's a difference between, everybody's like, oh, just take a chance, send it, take risk. Okay, cool. Right. But at what point is it acceptable risk? And at what point in time do I draw the line of this just isn't happening? If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Does that book explain that?
Erika took a big, you were an attorney before you joined the military, and then you joined the military, which the pay was a lot less.
Substantial less.
That's a risk. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Not with money, like risk in like planning in a business, like what?
Man, it's more than $10 an hour.
Yeah.
12, buddy. I think it's 12.
It was 10
Was it
if I
private
wanted to
now?
work in an entertainment law firm.
She wasn't a private ever,
So
so more than 12.
I think this is a come to Jesus discussion that every leader needs to have. I think business continuity is easy. I think it is ridiculously easy because we do business continuity every day in our lives, beginning with when you wake up and you look at the weather app on your phone because you're like, oh, well, it's this temperature. I got to wear this, this, and this. I'm going here. How long is it a drive to there? Do I have to worry about this as I'm driving? Yeah, like you're doing things to make sure that you succeed. And the hardest thing about business continuity is leadership buy-in and money, because it's a great thing to identify that you need a backup generator. That's all that happens is you identify and you don't actually go out and buy it. Where are you better off in the process? You're not. And like, I'm going to steal a quote, but I'm going to credit him. His name is Mike Janko. He is the head of business continuity operations for Goodyear Tire. And he said, if like the only thing worse than not having a business continuity plan is explaining why you didn't after the fact.
Right. And that's where, they've even coined a phrase for it as reactionary leadership.
Yeah.
And it's like, that is only when you didn't have a continuity plan and something happened where it was like, wow, that was not seen. Like, now where's the leadership coming after that?
Right. So the thing is, with emergency, there's a lot of similarities with emergency management. You don't have people demanding preparedness in advance because they want to spend the money on other things. They're like, oh, we want this brand new library to be built. That's, you'll have the general public saying that versus, oh, I want you to shore up these levees that have been fine for a while, but they might give out. But you know what?
New Orleans.
Yeah. The sad thing is there was a exercise in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, a year before Katrina hit.
Yes, that's a good conspiracy too.
It's not a conspiracy. It was called Hurricane Pam. They made up a Cat 5 hurricane that made landfall, broke the levees, and then they predicted Katrina. Mm-hmm. And then they had an AAR afterwards. They figured out what they needed to do, and they only did half of the shit because they didn't have the money because they wanted to spend the money on other things, and that is the problem. But if you're like, so a small business, a very, very small business, like one of the people I advise, very, very small business, solopreneur, operates out of their house. And at first I was like, oh, I don't really need business continuity. And I was like, hold my beer. Let me ask you some questions. And then they're like, oh shit. Yeah, I need to do this. And then I followed up after the things I said you need to do. And they were like, you know what? This was helpful because I thought I couldn't do business continuity until I grew. And now I realized after doing this, I can't grow until I did the business continuity. And now I feel even more secure to grow as a result. So like I said, it doesn't matter what size you are, where you are in the process of your business. I think it's best to have that practice as you start and not adapt it later, because if it's always part of you and you understand that you need that safety net, because why would you invest? It's like starting a business, it's as easy as doing an LLC. That's also not that easy.
Super easy. No, LLC is pretty easy, but
but doing the paperwork and actually investing in it, why would you just throw all that away by not securing your ability to carry on? Like that's all just wasted effort. Or you can call it a very expensive lesson learned, expensive as in time, that in blood, sweat, and tears you put into it, and then whatever money you lost as a result. And people are like, oh, insurance, I have insurance. Okay, great, good for you. All that does is transfer the risk financially. It does not actually cure the risk. You think about it, if
doesn't mean shit, actually. Okay.
Yeah, if you have a car accident, right? You're like, oh, I have money, it's insured. How long are you going to get that money? It's not going to come tomorrow. You're still going to be without a car. You're going to have the headache of having to deal with the insurance company, especially if the guy that hit you is underinsured. So it's a headache to have all this stuff. So yeah, it'll help you financially. You still have to address the risk. It doesn't make it go away.
Yeah. Well said. And then there's gonna be a lot of people that listen to this after the fact, whether it's on our podcast platforms or rewatching
Spotify,
the videos,
Apple Music.
Yeah, and they're gonna hear this, and I can kind of turn this into like the little bit of the AAR portion of it, to where, again, if you go back and listen to what Erika was saying, if you just look on the outlook on life and what's happened in her life and how she, progressed through it, a lot of us share that, especially on this panel. But there's always some place you can go forward with. and she's always looked for a way to make things better, whether or not, you know, it's her life or other people's lives. And I hope you picked up on that the same way I did as you're listening. What I really like is, again, and buddy, like I said, you walked out of the room right when we were talking about. I know you heard us.
I was listening. I was actually busy buying the book.
He's taking notes.
Sorry.
He's taking
Yeah,
notes.
no,
He's taking notes.
No, like I said, I know.
I'm about to buy the book too.
I said I know he was listening. So go buy the book, read it, and then again, taking
Erika,
risks.
show the book again.
Yeah, and then the cover's on the event as well. Yep. So,
and it's only $19.99 on Amazon. Not a huge deal, guys.
Yeah, and if $20 is nothing, it's a no-brainer. Or if you want to only spend $4.99, get that off on the
Kindle.
Kindle, right? But here's the thing.
That's the other.
I got two of these, option. Right? One of them is to a Spotify playlist of all the chapters, so you can work out something around.
So you don't even have to fucking read. Marines that are watching, buy the book.
Yeah, and people always ask me why I continue education. Why is Buddy continue education? Hopefully, Dave one day starts. It's like it keeps your mind working, and you're finding new avenues, new ways to do things, new ways of thought. And everybody's like, I don't need to be educated. Maybe not for your job that you're in right now. But it's like when that job goes bye-bye, you might have wished you spent some time learning something else, right? And I'm sure some of you do that.
Buddy, shut up! I already know you got something to say right there.
Yeah.
Just we'll do a whole episode on that.
It annoys when people say, "Well, I don't need. What do I need art appreciation for? Do my job." You don't. You need art appreciation to be able to appreciate the work that an artist did on a painting, and to be able to empathize and see what other people are thinking. That's why you take other courses.
Fucking love it.
You learn things, because it's the same as like people that get out of the military and they're like, I'm never doing PT again. I'm just gonna grow my hair and sit around. Okay, don't do PT again. But when you
always do PT, baby. Let's go.
You're still in the army.
Anyway, when you feel like shit a month after you've been in, and you wake up in the morning and you don't know what you're gonna do. Like your default is get up and go work out or go do something, go read a book, learn something. Like, going to college was not or going back to school was not the be all end all for me. But at the end of the day, I have gotten more out of it than I had to put into it. That's for sure. And to be able to see how other people live. I mean, there are still things that are.
I would love to be a fly on the wall.
That are 100%.
For people that just tuned in, Buddy is what? You're 40, bro? 41?
45. I'm 45.
45. You're killing.
But
he's in college now.
Yeah,
DSF soldier who just retired out of the army. He's going to college. I would love to be that fly on the wall. Yeah.
I just
be the fly.
Yep.
Yeah, like the silent one.
I got him, Nikola Tesla or fucking
But that was one of the things that happened when I was in Europe. I was walking around, and we talked about PTSD earlier and all the bad things. There are also some good things that come from post-traumatic stress. I'm not going to I was walking around Europe, and I kept thinking to myself, like, I wonder what people that have never been in the military or just like civilians think about when they're walking around. Because I'm constantly looking at people and being like, threat, not a threat. Nah, he's probably not about that life. Or like, where am I going to go if something does happen? Where am I putting the kids? Where am I going?
Yep.
How am I moving forward to a threat? Am I moving back? Am I moving forward? Is there cover over there? Should I go there? Like, how
that's
am I
straight up
like,
PTSD.
I thought about it.
Yep.
It is, but is it a bad thing? Like I can look at it. I can.
It's called hypervigilance, right? Like you're being
vigilant. Nick, 100%.
But that being said, like I could have an attitude where I look at it and I'm like, oh my God, I can't think of anything else. Or I could be like, hey, you know what the benefit that is? If anything does happen, like I'll be fine.
You'll be good. You'll be good.
But the people that are with me will be fine. Other people might not be so good, but like I'll be all right. You know what I mean? Like
Nick was at Bragg when this shit happened.
Yeah.
And people used to tell me I lost my empathy and apathy, which I think is tied in with PTSD. But Nick, you remember my neighbor Jeremy got hit?
Yeah, by the car.
My driveway. 30 years, civil affairs or psyops, retired sergeant major, trying to hook up his boat at like 9 in the morning to his truck, and then a drunk driver hit him. And I was the first one on the scene. It was something out of like a movie. His right leg was hanging up here. He was already missing like his hand and everything. Long story short, he lost both his legs and 3 of his fingers. And I was there just, I didn't even know like he was literally stuck between the vehicle and the truck. And there's this woman like, get him off my car. I'm like, no. And the neighbors that showed up, you know, prior to the EMT showing up, they were like, oh my God. They're all jacked up in the head. That literally didn't affect me one bit. Loved Jeremy to pieces, you know, and it was a fucking horrible situation, but like, Nick, you already know we've seen what it works.
Yeah,
you know?
So so going back to what I was talking about was, you know, being prepared to, and like what Erika's consulting group is about and her book is about, is being prepared, right? And you prepare yourself through education and experience. And yes, you can do your job without education, but if you're educated, then you do it better, right? And you're able to prepare yourself for the next thing coming down.
You're a better person.
I want to get a little
You're a more complete person.
No, but I'll get woo-woo. And part of I feel like this is my purpose and my passion. Like people say you're clearly passionate about this. And the first time I taught, I was so amped up when I got home because I live off my disability, and then I was getting paid from UTEP, and I kind of forgot that I got paid from UTEP until like my check show. I'm like, what the fuck about this extra money? I'm like, oh yeah, I get paid for this. It's so awesome. But when I was living in Massachusetts, I was getting off the train one night, walking back to my place after being out, and a restaurant that had an identity crisis. It was both, I'm not even joking, both an Irish pub and a Tex-Mex restaurant at the same time. And
sounds delightful.
they had closed, and my buddy was walking next to me, and I was like, oh, that's so sad, they closed. He's like, why? They sucked. And I said, no, don't say that. And this is where like I'm empathetic to a fault. Like I immediately my mind went to, I said, that means a person's dream died, person who wanted that business, and then everybody that works in that business had to go home and say, I don't have a paycheck anymore. And that means they're not going to be able to afford rent, they're not going to be able to afford gas, they're not going to be able to afford food, they're not going to be able to afford a vacation, whatever it is. And I feel like it's imperative and almost an obligation for everybody to be present. And everybody, I don't care who you are entitled to a wonderful life. And part of that is making money and having services available. And if being resilient as a business, it makes communities resilient because there's always something there to serve you. That's where I really get my drive from to do what I do.
Yeah.
But hey, so again, what Dave was sharing his story, like, and this kind of goes to it where he was prepared to handle that situation. So when it happened and everybody was, hey, move the car, do this, and Dave's like, nope, don't move the car, right? Like, right? Like, trust me, don't wait for the paramedics to get here. Like, probably saved his life. But that's again, go back to the AAR. We believe that Tesla talked to aliens, and that
we do though, Nick.
Yes, we believe that Tesla talked to aliens.
Buddy said yes to aliens.
That the government is transparent.
Down with aliens, 100%.
Right? But like I said, for those of you listening to this later, and then those of you watching, maybe I don't know if you skipped to it now, you just got to it. All right, go back. All right, go back to when Erika starts talking, and then realize how vital she can be to your business. All right, realize that just the attitude she brings to consulting, the attitude she brings to growth, and like I said, the growth mindset. Everybody who's like reading any books now about that kind of stuff is like, Dr. Dweck, and like you read that book, she's showing that exactly what is said in there, and that where it's, hey, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Okay, I'm going to do this next, I'm going to do that next. Nothing is stopping you from going to that next thing except yourself. Right. And so you can make it happen. And yeah, it might be a lot harder for some than the other. Right. But you can still make it happen. And if you need any help with the business, and we have a lot of veteran entrepreneurs that watch this, have been on this show, that may be stuck in a rut and really don't understand the difference between risk management and then preparing, right? So like give Erika's EAS Consulting the links on the thing, give it a shout out, like go look at it, buy her book, read it. If you don't believe in her authenticity, it's a hard word to say for a ranger. Authenticity, right?
Bravo.
I had to pause. If you don't believe in it,
Hast du sehr gut gemacht.
Go back and listen to it.
That's
but I'm terrified to let Dave close us out tonight. But Erika, give us the last word, last
Buddy's
plug,
closing us out,
and then we'll let Buddy close us out.
All right.
I'm not closing out. That's not a thing.
Erika, the floor is yours.
Okay, so I thank everybody for listening to the yarn. I spun very long on about my trajectory of going from corporate law to where I am now, and how, everything I've done to make my business was done through working through my PTSD, and some of it held me back. And I'm glad that I worked through, because a lot of it was fear-based, that I wasn't moving forward. And I'm grateful for the place I'm in now, and I'm continuing, because it's not, oh, you finish your therapy, you're done. That's not it. You will vacillate. You will have some great days and be good for a little bit, and then you'll backslide, and that's okay. And that's all part of being resilient. So I have personal resilience, and I like transferring that into business resilience. Again, I think business resilience is easy to just get into it. If you really need, and a lot of people don't know, the most popular book series in the world, Blank for Dummies. There is a business continuity for dummies. Nobody's reading that book because it is written for business continuity professionals. People already know about this. I wrote a book to let everybody who deserves to know about business continuity, and digest it in a way that you understand it. You're not like, that was a waste. I'm, as better off as I was if I never read the book. So, let me help you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fucking love it. Yep.
Yeah. So, Buddy, close us out.
Buddy, you got the close out.
Here we go, closing us out. There we are. We get to let's see. Nikola Tesla was not an alien, but talked aliens.
Nobody ever claimed he was an alien.
On this, we talked about that before the show. It's part of the
no. We actually did not claim he was an alien.
Second thing, buy the book. Erika is written a baller book. She knows what she's talking about. She's got, look at all those degrees. Those
are all letters.
That's a fancy wall.
Literally,
that is a fancy wall.
That is a Kanye West song right behind her. Just
dude, where is Kanye?
We can
talk about that next week. Kanye is gone.
Also,
he disappeared.
Dave can only handle two
bottles of vodka for sure.
And then he starts slurring and talking way more than normal. Anyway.
And that's okay. Everybody still loves me, bro.
It is okay, and we do still love you.
Yeah, we're not mad at you at all. Just funny.
At the check out the Spotify, the YouTube, the finger that Dave's putting up. Anyway, Spotify.
And
YouTube,
one last thing, we put a thing up before the show and after the show. If you're watching live and if you're listening, go on there. All of our partners and sponsors are on there with the West Point grads that started NRF2 Warrior. All right, they got a hangover pill, which Dave's going to need tomorrow. They also have an energy pill on there. It's all natural.
Dave's probably going to need that also tomorrow.
Yeah. Fleet Tex and then 10th Mountain.
I know. I'll wake up at 5 in the morning anyway.
But also, I do want to say before we're done, Erika, it was great to have you on the show, and really, it was great to hear you not only share your experiences, but share your experiences with getting out of the military, the stress that you were going through, and then how you turned it around, and how you kind of, all of us go through that, especially when we're getting out or about to get out, where we don't
it's rough.
Yeah, well, we don't know what we want to do when we grow up. Like, we don't know what we want to be.
Inject something about the PTSD thing I was getting. I actually said to the VA, and this is how I wound up. So my intent, because I started the VA therapy in New York because I left Boston, and the VA is like, okay, we can take you in about 8 weeks. And I was like, fuck that. Nope. And I was like, what is my other option? And they were like, well, you can go to the NYU Family Clinic or go to a vet center. I go, get me in touch with both. Whoever gets back to me first, I'll go to. And I was like, the thing that you don't understand is I am begging you for help. I am begging you for help, and you're not giving it to me. And they go, yeah, we have in this file that you're highly distraught. I'm like, yes. I said, look, there are 22 people a day who fucking kill themselves. And I am actually trying to get help, and I'm not going to be one of them. I was like, but do you understand how frustrating it is when you have somebody who has the courage to say, I need you to help me. And not only do you keep asking me to go through evaluations and you keep retriggering your questions, I'm like, now you're telling me, okay, you jumped through this hoop now in 8 more weeks. I'm like,
no, I just went through that.
Gotta fix the system.
Nick literally went through all of that. Yep.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Hey, I know that we're supposed to close the show.
Defeat the demon.
Shout out to Congresswoman Escobar's office. I filed an inquiry with them, and they got things rolling right away with the El Paso VA. So shout out to her office. She helped me out too because
it's not the DC girl, right, Nick?
Hey, real quick though, but for both you, Nick and Erika, like the common thread between both of you is that you didn't take no for an answer, and you advocated for yourself. Like, if you know that you're in that position and it's that dire, no is not an answer that you can take. If you go to the VA and they say, oh, well, you got to go through this, like, okay, cool. What's the next option? Like, who's the next person? Because I'm at a point that it's like I'm going to do something stupid. Like, I need actual help. And 8 weeks, like, I had a buddy that was
took him 6 months to get me back into pain management. 6 months.
Buddy, you were just supposed to close out for a couple seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he was going through the same thing.
But it's true.
And
It's true.
The active Army told him it was going to be 8 weeks, and he was talking about like he was in a dark place, and I was like, that's not good. That's not good enough. Go back and talk to him again. Like, sit in the office and be like, hey, well, until you talk to me, I'm just going to be here. Can't kill myself in a psychiatrist's office. That'd look bad. So you might want to just make an appointment. Like, you might want to make some time for me.
Yeah, fight for your resources. There are alternatives to the VA that are free.
Yeah.
Just do your research and ask them to tell you, because they know who they are. So don't,
Right.
don't take no for an answer.
Thank you.
Advocate
Thank you for being on, Erika, and thank you for sharing your not only your story, but that's a lot of really good resources that you put out there during the. I can't say resources, like it just comes off weird. Anyway, but thank you.
Share the links, buddy. Share the links.
Alabama and resources. There we go.
Yeah.
Buddy, share the links. Veteran.
Hey guys,
I already did that.
Yeah, veterantrashtalk.com, gruntworksclothing.com. Hey, check us out. We'll see you next week. We got John Troxel coming on again with his new book. So we'll see. We'll see that going on next. So,
All right, guys. Baby.
Yeah, see you next Saturday.